Hello students, today we will continue from where we had left in this video. We have to do with align attribute of table tag. So what is align attribute of table tag? It aligns the table to the left, center or right. Let us see the example of align attribute of table tag. This is the output. If I will use align attribute, I'm using this align attribute inside the table tag and the value I'll give as center. Let me save it and refresh it. The table will be aligned to the center of the window. If I will specify right, the table will be aligned to the right. If I'll specify the value as left, the table will be aligned to the left. By default, the table is aligned to the left. If I don't use any align attribute, within the table tag, then the default is left. So, specifies the horizontal placement of the table. Left aligns the table on the left, the default. It is the default. Right aligns the table on the right, center aligns the table in the center. BG color, we have already seen the BG color attribute of the table tag. BG color is used to set the background color of the table. And also we had seen background attribute of table tag, which is used to set image as a background. Image as a background to the table. This example which we had seen, we can set the image as a background for the table, and also we can set the, as we had seen the example that we can set different color to a cell. Likewise, we can set different image to a cell. Then next is this border. We have seen cell padding, cell spacing, height. We can specify the height of the table. It is same as width of the table. Width of the table. Okay, I'll take this example again. If I will use height attribute within the table tag, for example, I will specify 50%. I'll save it and let us see. The height of the table changes. So we can use the height attribute of the table tag also. It is very similar to the width attribute of the table tag, which we have done in previous video. Now we come to the calls attribute of the table tag. Calls attribute of the table tag is deprecated now. Instead, there are tags available named as call group and call elements, or we can use cascading style sheet CSS to perform the work of calls attribute. It is no more used in the HTML. It's deprecated. What was the purpose of calls attribute? It indicates how many virtual columns of equal width fit in the width of the window. For example, this is my width of the window. This is complete width of the window. If I'm specifying, for example, the value of calls attribute as 4, calls is equal to 4. So the 100% of the window will be divided into the width of the 100% window will be divided into 4 columns. each will have 100 divided by 4. That means for one column, 25% of the window will be allotted. So 25, 25, 25, 25 is total 100. So if the width attribute is supplied, the calls attribute indicates how many virtual columns fit in the specified width. It means that if the width attribute is specified in the table tag, for example, width attribute is 80%, 80%, width attribute is 80%, then what happens here is, suppose that the width attribute is 80% and the calls attribute is 4. In this case, each column takes up to 20% of the width of the window, the width which I have specified as 80%. So for 80%, 20% for each column, because total columns are 4. So each column will occupy 20% of the width. However, that if the minimum width needed to display the contents of an actual column is greater than the width of a virtual column, then the width column is expanded to fit its content. For what it means is, if the content within the cell is greater than the width specified, then it will accordingly fit the adjust the width of the table according to the content within the cell. That is what it means, but calls attribute is deprecated. It's no longer used because HTML is an evolving language. Before it was supported, now it's not supported. Instead, we can use cascading style sheet, or there are two tags known as call group and call elements, which can be used in the table to serve the purpose of calls attribute. Next, H space. H space means horizontal space. Again, H space and V space. V space means vertical space. They both are also deprecated. Instead, cascading style sheet is used. So what is H space? H space means, for example, this is the table and this is the content around the table. So horizontal space between the content of the table and the table, that is horizontal space. What is V space? It is, for example, this is the table and this is the content around the table. So vertical space between the content of the table and the table itself is vertical space. So let's see what's written here. Again, it's deprecated. Instead, we use cascading style sheet. Specifies the distance between the left and right edges of the table. As you can see, H space specifies the space between the specifies the distance between left and right edges of the table. Left and right edges of the table, distance. And any surrounding content. Similarly goes with V space, specifies the distance between the top and bottom edges of the table and any surrounding content. Top and bottom, top and bottom, bottom and surrounding edges. Surrounding contents. But these three attributes are deprecated now. Similarly, you can define attributes within th tag and td tag. Till now we were seeing the example of attributes which are used in table tag. Similarly, we can use attributes in th tag and td tag. I hope by now you know what is th tag and td tag. One more thing, We had done the example, various examples. We were done with the first example, table with no border and caption. Then we were done with the second example, table with background color and image with border. Then we were done with the third example, table with cell spacing, and fourth example also we were done with fourth example also, table with cell padding. We are remaining with the fifth example, last example, table showing use of call span and row span. So let us see what is call span and row span. Call span and row span is an attribute of table tag. Is an attribute of, sorry, it's not an attribute of table tag, it's an attribute of TD tag, or you can say TH tag. So we were about to do, as we had discussed, that like the table tag can have attributes, th tag and td tag can have attributes, and the two attributes for th tag or td tag are call span and row span. Let us see the example of call span and row span. Here's the example of call span and row span. Let us see. The table tag is used to create the table, and the border attribute of the table tag to specify the border of the table. Then we have row. That means this table has first row. Let me use this to explain. Let us see. This has got one row, first row, and it has used th tag. That means table header. This determines one column. Instead of th, we can use td also. The difference between td and th is for specifying the heading of the table, and by default the contents of the cell, the contents of the column will be bold and aligned center by default. Instead of th, we can use td also, but the difference will be the content will not be in bold and will not be centered aligned. So th means it's talking about first column. The table has got at least first row. So let us talk about first row. And th is used, that means I'm talking about one of the columns, but as you can see within the th tag we have used call span is equal to 2. Call span is equal to 2 means it will merge the two columns. That means one column and the second column will be merged. For example, this table has two columns, but since I have used in this row call span within the th tag, that means the two columns will be merged. The two columns will be merged. Two columns will be merged, and the content which is written here is align is equal to programming languages. As you can see, the two columns are merged. And the content is programming languages. So the content will be programming languages. And so on. and it will be aligned to center because the attribute align for th tag is used, which will align the content to the center. So this was about first row. Now tr tag, that means second row. Second row, as you can see in second row, there is one column because td is used. That means one of the column is there. And within the td tag, you can see the row span attribute. Row span is used to merge the rows. So here I have used row span is equal to 2. That means the two rows will be merged. So as we were talking about the second row, but since here we have used row span is equal to 2, that means it will merge the third row also. That means two rows. For example, this is the second row and this is the third row. These two rows will be merged. The two rows will be merged. And the content which is written is object oriented programming. So as you can see, this is td and here is the second td. That means this has got two columns. Here it has got two columns. In the first column, what is written? Object oriented programming. But as you can see, okay, first let me write this object oriented programming. It's written object oriented programming. But the row span is only for this column. Can you see this td? For this td, row span is there. For the second column, for the second td, there is no row span. That means there has to be two rows. That means this. And the content is this Java. So it will be written as Java. And this row is closed. These two rows are merged. This row is empty. So now the third row we are talking about. Third row, since this third row is merged, this third row is merged for the first column, and td in the third row, td second column is specified, which is C++. First column is merged with this column. Okay, and then the third row is closed. Then fourth row. Let us see what's given there. It has got two columns, but in the first column, the two rows are merged. That means first, second, third. Now we are talking about fourth row. And as you can see, in the fourth row, first column, two rows are merged. That means fifth row is merged. This is the fifth row. And it has got two columns. That means it has got two columns. But in the first column, the two rows are merged. See, the two rows are merged. What's written here is structured language. Structured language. Structured language. And in the second column, the two rows are not merged because row span is not used in this td tag. So this line will be visible. So here the content is C. The content is C. Then the fifth row, which is merged for this column, and for the second column, the content is basic. Basic. So this is the rough table. So let us see the output of this example, row span and col span. See, is it almost similar? Programming language will be centered aligned. Object-oriented programming, Java C++, Java C++, structured language, C basics. As you can see, the two columns are merged, the two rows are merged, the two rows are merged. So row span is used to merge the two rows and col span is used to merge the two columns. Now here, as you can see, for programming language, for the th tag is used, and I have used align attribute for the th tag. Let us see if I don't use the align attribute. Let us see. I'll save it and refresh it. There is no change because the th tag by default bolds the content and align the content to the center. So we don't have to specify the align attribute is equal to center. By default it will do that since we are using th, the table header tag. Instead, let us see if instead of th I will use td. What happens? The content will not be bold and will not be centered aligned. Let me save it and refresh it. So this is the difference between th tag and td tag. Let me change this to th tag, save it and refresh it. By default, the content will be bold and center aligned. So this was an example of row span and col span. Let us go back to where we had left. The way we can use attributes in the table tag, we can also use attributes in the th tag or td tag. So align attribute. Align attribute is used to align the contents of the cell to left, center or right. For example, I can give you the example here. For the th tag, let us see the output first. If I want to align the content of this cell of the table, then as you can see, this is the first row and the first column, first td or first th. So this is the first row. Here th tag is used and I want to use align attribute in the th tag as, for example, right. And I will save it. Let us see the output. Refresh. The content of this cell is aligned to the right. If I want to align it to the center, I will use the center value. Save it and refresh it. And if I will use left, then it will be aligned to left, but by default the content is aligned to the left. I don't have to specify it. By default it is aligned to the left. If I'll not use the align attribute here, by default the contents will be aligned to the left. Sorry, by default Because here I have used th tag. As we know, for the contents within the th tag will be by default bold and center aligned. That is why the content is aligned to the center in this example, because we have used the th tag. Similarly, we can use the align attribute in the td tag also. I will use right. I'm using it for xyz. For this, it is by default left because in td tag the content is by default aligned to the left. So I'll save it. I will align the content to the right. Refresh it. The content is aligned to the right. If I'll not use the align attribute, let us see what happens. By default, it will be aligned to the left. So this was the align attribute of th tag and td tag. Now next is v-align. Vertical alignment of a cell. V-align is used to vertically align the contents in the cell to the top, to the middle, to the bottom. So let us use V-align for this XYZ. Let us use the V-align for XYZ. V-align is equal to, for example, I want to use for bottom. Save it and refresh. This content is aligned to the bottom. Likewise, if I want to align it in the middle, the value will be middle. If I want to align it to the top, the value will be the top. Vertical align. So align is horizontal alignment of a cell. V-align is the vertical alignment of a cell. And we have seen the example of col span and row span. Col span is equal to the number. Number means the number of columns I want to merge. Row span is equal to some particular number. Number, that means so many rows I want to merge. This example we have seen. Important hint. TH tag, TD tag and TR should always have end tags. They should always have end tags. Although the end tags are formally optional, these tags are formally optional, but for TR, yeah, okay. Many browsers will mess up the formatting of the table if you omit the end tags. In particular, you should always use end tags if you have a table within a HTML document. Second, a default table has no border. This we have already discussed. By default, tables are drawn without border lines. You need the border attribute to draw the lines. Third, by default, a table is flush with the left margin. If we don't use the align attribute in the table tag, by default the table will align to the left. As you can see, this is aligned to the left by default. I have not used align attribute in this table tag. No align attribute is used. Most current browsers also support stable alignment using the align attribute. Allowed values are left, right or center. For example, table align is equal to left. The values left and right float the table to the left or right of the page with text flow allowed around the table. Fourth, alignment attributes on TD and TH attributes override those alignments specified by the TR tag. Let us see the example. I will remove this V line here. What that sentence mean is, I will, instead of TH, I will change it to TD. I am using align attribute and TR tag. Let us see what happens. Let me save it and refresh it. The contents of this row is aligned to the right. And for example, for this PQR, I want it to align to the center. So for PQR, I will use align attribute as center. Save it and refresh it. See, though in TR tag I have used align attribute whose value is right, but I have specified align attribute in the CD tag also whose value is center. So this is overriding the align attribute which is used in TR tag. So this is what it means. Alignment attributes on TD or TH attributes override those alignments specified by the TR tag. So this is the end of the topic, tables in HTML. So we had an overview of tables in HTML. This is the syntax. This is the table tag, and the table tag has attribute align, bg color, border, cell padding, cell spacing, height, width, calls, s space, v space, and angular brackets, the content within the table tag, and the table tag is closed. This is the syntax of the table, and these attributes we have discussed. The table elements, we are done with table elements. We have done all the table attributes mentioned in the textbook. Then the attributes of th tag or td tag and this important hints. We have seen the various examples of table tag. There are total 5 examples given here. We have done all the 5 examples of table tag. So in next video, we will see that the 5 mark questions comes from this topic. At least one question from this topic, tables in HTML, comes for 5 marks. The 5th question will have question from this topic which will carry 5 marks. So we will see that those questions in the next video. For today we will stop here. Thank you.